Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel and some more Birthright coverage here as we're working our way through the end of the Brecht domains in the Western Reaches here. So today we're taking a look at Wierech. It's lawful neutral and is available for PCs. And as we saw from the map, it is the least mountainous of the Western realms. It does maintain its independence through vigilance and discretion. Its provinces are thinly populated and its people are wary of strangers. So it's not a very big domain in contrast to some of the other ones that we've seen. So we have Adler. It's only a 2. 2 Giants Tread is actually up to 4. Ulbrun is a 5. And Wasser's Reach is a 4. So it's decently populated, though, nonetheless. But law, as we can see, isn't fully ruled up in some of the provinces. Temples, we got a couple different things going on, and some different guild activity as well, and then some potential source activity. So all law in the realm, such as it is, answers to the Baronet Kiel Adler. He does not depend on his noble title. He's actually originally from Danegau to defend his right to rule. Instead, he answers challenges to his power with his spear-tipped axe. So just the direct approach. Now, the temple side, you have Darold Volcairn of Sarah's Perfect Symmetry, so decent level priest. Makes his home in Wierech. His court is in Aulbrunn, but travels extensively up and down the western coast. As a result, a new temple, Kirches Tundar, led by Paladin Karl Terbach, which is a fairly high-level priest, paladin, has assumed the mantle of spiritual protector for many in the realm. And that kind of alludes to what we saw in the sort of intro to the Western Reaches. So Sarah's temple and religion is kind of losing ground, partially because of priests like Volcairn, who are just more out and about, traveling and venturing instead of sort of actively growing the particular faith. On the guild side, you have Darlur Smoothface. It's actually a fighter thief, controls the copper and coke miners, and remains on good terms with the dwarves in Darren. She was actually once a Moor Kalad refugee. The Moonshine Sailors, a thieves guild led by the mysterious Ciele, the fisherman, have learned not to prey on the miners, though they often waylay trade caravans and rich merchants on the coast. So we got some rival guild action going there, one with some more nefarious tendencies. And then finally, the sources. The Fae is believed to control the sources in this domain. Originally, though, a cult of wizards dedicated to Rornil lived in the mountains, but they were betrayed and destroyed by one of their own number, an evil Brecht wizard named Cyrena. She has not claimed their source network, however, perhaps for fear of the Fae, but could still be out there and could be a danger. Now, if you're thinking about running the realm, you have a little bit of regency accumulated, nothing too huge, definitely some areas to build up, and fairly minuscule treasury, but it is at least over 10 gold, so you have a little bit of room to work with, so 12 gold bars there. Kiel Adler cannot seem to build a decent army, though. Perhaps his requirements are too high and his purse too shallow. The following units are currently under his command, so he does actually have 2 elite infantry, ironically enough, and 2 knights, which pretty damn good units. Does have an artillery unit, surprisingly none of the sort of lower end infantry units, so no pikes, no just regular infantry, no archers, probably some things you want to rectify. And then a small navy here, so 2 cogs and a round ship. So obviously building a bigger army is kind of going to be predicated on having much more gold and resources, so there's some ways that you'll need to work on getting that. However, you do have some backup. The Temple of Kirche has begun raising troops with Kiel's permission, and their holy warriors do their best to keep Adler and 2 Giants Tread clear of enemies. So here's where you bring in some of the other forces. You got 2 units of archers, 2 of infantry, 1 knight unit, which is called the Thunder of God Battalion. And then Adler assisted the temple in raising this unit from his own forces. So you have that. So when you combine all of them together, you're looking at basically a 10-unit armed forces for the realm, which for such a small realm is pretty potent. But you can see where the tendency would be to increase the economy, get some more resources, and just flesh that out a little bit more, especially when dealing with some of the neighbors. Now, the Regent himself, if you want to run him, Kiel Adler, again, pretty high-level fighter for the setting, aggressively defends his small realm from the incursions of the Gorgon and the predations of the Black Eyes traders. He's actually increased his bloodline strength throughout the years by personally dispatching would-be usurpers, though he does not go hunting for blood kill. He has yet to win the respect of many of the other Brecht rulers. However, the Count of Danico being the most prominent and And he does kind of tend to resent this. So, well, there's obviously some things that could be done then to start gaining that respect. Certainly, coming to the aid of some of your fellow realms would be one. But let's move on. Lieutenants, originally, Daryl Volcairn was one of his chief lieutenants. Adler respected the priest's desire for adventure and daring, but when Daryl was unexpectedly granted the temple regency, he used his preoccupation with adventuring to avoid responsibility. Adler now has no lieutenants, though he does greatly desire one, which would help, I think. Certainly, one of the main projects there should be, if you're taking on the realm, getting a lieutenant early on that you can trust would be worthwhile. Other important NPCs, Karl Terbach serves as a ferocious ally to Kiel Adler. Both are warriors and leaders raised up from the common folk. Karl did not discover his noble lineage until he was well into his 20s. And they have the respect of their subjects, if not their peers. Terbach would lay down his life and the lives of his entire fellowship in the defense of Wierech. The pair first became recognized in the region during the ruin of Adlersburg. Then also Darlur Smoothface, the tall, for a dwarf leader of the copper and coke miners, commands great respect among her small band of followers. She originally came from Darren some 20 years ago, just after the ruin of Adlersburg, and built the guild out of the ashes of an old organization. Recently, she's made overtures to Darren regarding a partnership with the guilds there, and an alliance may not be far off, which, if you're running the realm, hopefully you can start getting some much-needed gold off of that as well. Now, the description here of the realm. So, like most of the Western realms, Wierech is a wild and mostly unsettled realm. For a brief time, it rivaled northern Danagau in strength and prestige, but pride brought about its downfall. The old Duke of Wierech, that's basically a hereditary title, established the fortress at Adlersburg to keep watch on the Gorgon. He paid the dwarves of Barukajik and the stonemasons of Danagau well to build an indestructible fortress and nearly succeeded. Key word, nearly. After only a dozen or so years, Adlersburg reported incursions into Wierech by Orogs and goblins, presumably under the Gorgon's command. The knights of Adlersburg, armed with steel lances wearing armor forged in the dwarven mines, rode out and destroyed them. Again and again, the Gorgon kept testing that and basically just repeated the process. And then, unfortunately, the Duke grew proud, so he relocated his whole court to Adlersburg. Certainly, the rolling plains of the interior province were preferable to the rocky bay of Owlbrunn. He built a new wall outside the fortress and tried to make the settlement self-sufficient, as were the settlements in Danakau. And again, he nearly succeeded. In the winter of that year, bands of marauders stormed up the coast into Darren and destroyed the outlying settlements. Only the timely arrival of the Royal Marines of Muden saved Bannenbach from obliteration. The Urga-Zai humanoids besieged Danagau cities, leveling one and being driven from Blackgate only at great cost. Isolated and alone, then Wierech had to stand fast, and it couldn't, because then the Gorgon really actually made some effort. So winterfrost, plague, and famine racked the city. Those who fled the outer wall were chased by wolves across Two Giants' Tread and died within sight of Owlbrunn. Any who retreated to the Horfell Mountains were consumed by the winter wind and probably other things as well. And then the enemy started to come back. At the height of a winter storm, the Gorgon uses power to raise undead legions from the dead of Wierech, Danagau, and Darren, and he directed them all at Adlersburg, heedless of cost. So when they were destroyed, the Gorgon then sent wolves and goblins, followed by gnolls and evil men. The Orogs of Urga-Zai finally finished the job, however, and the royal family of Wierech died in the tower the Duke had built. The Duke's body, it is said, was hurled from the pinnacle, and it shattered against the rocks below, and it froze solid on the way down. Despite this conquest, the Gorgon could not hold Darren. Its dwarf allies fought bitterly in the mines, and refugees from Darren and Danagau's armies refused to yield at the gates of Owlbrunn. When winter gave in to spring, so did the Gorgon's troops. Only a few scattered creatures returned to the crown, Urga-Zai and Kiergaard. So, pretty epic battles there. Now, for cities, Owlbrunn does remain a fortified city, the only one in Wierech. No attempt has been made to resettle Adlersburg, but the occasional adventurer travels to the ruins to look for gold or treasure. More often than not, they find death either at the hand of roaming Orogs or the undead that still haunt the walls and towers. And that really could be an epic adventure there if you're just adventuring in the realm, or a major sort of quest to sort of restore the realm to glory is retaking the ruins and building it up. So almost kind of like a la Thorin Oakenshield in The Hobbit there, kind of just reclaiming a lost realm. So in this case, this old impressive fortress could be a very fun object for the game, for your realm, or again, just as a adventuring quest line, which should be pretty interesting. Maybe even a quest given by the current ruler to go and explore those ruins for some magic items, resources, or just to gather intelligence. So many options there. Now, as far as allies go, Wierech may be able to count on Daniga for some assistance, but definitely not respect. Of course, that'd be something to change long term as well through diplomacy and other actions. Daniga will help Wierech only in times of great need, though the reverse isn't necessarily true. The dwarves of Darren may come to the realm's aid depending on the severity of the threat or promises of reward, and relations are improving between Darren and Wierech. So something to consider there, and I think it could be a long-term diplomatic and economic goal is to again forge that relationship and again bring some much needed coin into the treasury. Enemies, of course, we already mentioned the Gorgon. So the Gorgon is Wierech's bitter enemy, though he may not know it. More likely he considers the realm just another accomplishment. He achieved the destruction of the noble house of Wierech and the obliteration of Adlersberg, and gives the realm really no further thought. But again, if you start raising the realm back up to prominence, it could draw the Gorgon's attention again. And then finally, special considerations. If Wierech can strike a trade alliance with Darren, it may be able to benefit financially by learning some of the dwarves' secrets. Wierech would like to become the breadbasket of the western coast, assuming it can protect its farmlands from the Gorgon. So again, there's plenty of work to be done. So ruling up the realms a little bit, maybe settling up Ulbrun and either Wasser's Reach or Two Giants Tread a little bit more. Adler, maybe more of a long-term project. I'd say gaining some more law in the realm would be useful. Certainly doing something to improve the economic situation, and then at the same time building up the army a little bit more, and then just looking to increase trade between the realms and maybe actually gaining some real allies. So there's plenty of projects there to forge, and again, plenty of rich adventuring opportunities as well all throughout the realm, and certainly should lead to some potential amazing gameplay. But let us know your thoughts, guys, if you've played in and around Wierech and what you've done with the realm. Love to hear your stories. Be sure to comment there, like and subscribe, and check us out on Patreon if you want to see videos like this a little bit earlier and some more in-depth coverage on Birthright and other D&D content coming soon. Thanks so much for watching.